my name is Chirag Patil and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video, we will solve a problem which is based on Python loops, right? So let's understand a task first. So for given integer n, for all non-negative numbers, we need to print a square of that number, right? So for example, let's say n is equal to 3. So what are the non-negative numbers which are less than 3? It's 0, 1 and 2, right? So we need to print a square of that each number for 0, 1 and 2, right? Okay, so let's understand first what is the loop. So loop basically used when we want to execute some statement or code, a block of code repeatedly until some conditions are met, right? So there are two kinds of loop in Python. There are two kind of loops. One is for loop and second is while loop. Okay. So let's understand first while loop. Okay. So how we can define a while loop? So first we need to write while keyword, right? And then here's some expression or condition which will return true or false kind of thing or a boolean value, right? This is our code block, and at indentation we can write our statements or code or block of code, right? So what happens? So first we will evaluate this expression and then run this statement, right? After this we will again go here and check the conditions. If condition is true, we will continue run this statement, right, until this condition will be false, right? This block will be run or anything is printed there, so that will be print, right? So this is basically a while loop. So let's understand this problem using while loop first. Okay, so let me write here. So here we have n is equal to any integer number, right? So let's say I am defining just I is equal to 0 first, because we have to start from non-negative numbers, right? If there is 5, we want to print a square of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So let's I'm defining one integer I is equal to 0 and I'm writing while loop here while I is less than n, right? So what does it means? My code, let's say I am just anything writing here, right? Let's say print I as of now. So what will happen? My I will print when I is less than n, okay? But here is one catch. When this condition will be false, right? So if let's say I is equal to 0, here we will print 0 and then again go to the check this condition I less than n. Then I is equal to 0 and this will print, right? So this loop will never complete, okay? Because there is no condition which can break this condition, right? So whenever you are writing while loop, there is one condition should be false or there is any break statement into that. So while loop can be break, right? So what we can do here, I'll write, let's say I is equal to I plus 1, right? So now what will happen? So first we will print 0. Let me explain in this way. So first I is equal to 0, right? And we will print here 0. And now I will be incremented by 1 because I am writing I is equal to I plus 1. So now I will become 1. Now this condition will be checked that I 1 is less than 5, right? It is true. Then we will print 1 and here it will incremented by 2. Now again we will go here, right? So 2 less than 5, yes, we will print 2 and then I plus 1 we will 3. Same goes on. Once we will receive I is equal to, here we will reprint 4 and then I will become 5 right here at one point. And then we will check 5 is less than 5. No, this condition will false, right? Then we will not execute this code, we will jump here, right? That means we are now outside of the loop because this condition is failed, right? So this is how while loop works. So now let's solve our problem statement. Okay. So for each I which is less than n and non-negative, we need to print square, right? So in Python, we can print or get a square of any integer value by this double star operator. So it will work like I raised to 2. So that means the square of that number, right? So let's run this code. Okay, there is indentation error. Let's say okay, so here it is, that indentation error. Okay, and now let's run this code. Okay, so here we had seen that our test case is passed, right? The input is 5 and we print until 4, square of until 4, right? 0, then 1, then 2 raised to 2 is 4, 3 raised to 3 raised to 2 is 9, and 4 raised to 2 is 16. Okay, so now same problem we can solve using for loop as well, right? So let's understand for loop. So for loop is basically used to traverse sequentially on any iterables, right? So let's say I have one list, right? 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so I will write for I in, let's say, x is equal to this, right? So I will write for I in x, and if I print I here, so we will receive first 1, so it will print 1, and then we will receive 2 because we are traversing in sequence, right, on this list. So it will second time in I we will get 2, and third time in I we will get 3. So here we don't have to specify any condition to break this loop, right? Because it will traverse on this iterable, which is basically list in our case. So once the list is completed, this loop will be over, and we will our code of will execute code whichever written here after the for loop, right? So this is basically a for loop. So how we can solve this same problem using for loop? So we understand that for loop traverse on any iterable, right? So in Python there is one function which called as a range, and this tag, let's say you can pass starting value and end value, right? So start value will be inclusive and end value is non-inclusive. Okay, so for example I will write range 0 to 5. Okay, so this will return one iterable object on which I can write for loop. So iterable basically means you can iterate over each element, or in simple terms you can apply for loop on top of that. Okay, so if I, let's say, write for I in range 0 to 5, and I'm just printing I, right? So I will be, first it will be 0, then 1, then 2, 3 and 4, right? Then 5 will be not included in this range because the second argument or end argument is basically non-inclusive, right? So we can use this range function to solve our problem. So let's write this same problem using for loop. Okay, so let me comment it. Okay, let's say I will define for I in range 0 to n. Okay, so here we can skip this 0 as well. We can just pass range of n. So it will by default start from the 0, right? So, but we are writing 0 for the simplicity purpose, right? So now my I will be goes from 0 to n, which where n is exclusive. So we will receive, if n is equal to 5, we will receive 0 to 4. So my task is just print I raised to 2, right? So now let's run this code. Yes, so this also passing the test cases, right? So we had seen we can solve this problem using while loop and for loop as well, and we understand how the while loop and how for loop is working. Okay, so let's submit this code. Yes, so all test cases are passed, right? So this is all about this loop problem statement in HackerRank. If you like this video, please subscribe my channel and share it with your friends, and we will meet in the next video. Thank you.